All right, good morning. This is Arish Rojas, National Channel Manager here for Win911. We got Steven Ribes, our Product Manager, and today we're going to talk about Win911 Hot Backup. So, Steven, take it away.
Sure, thanks, Arish. As many of you guys know, alarm notification is mission critical. Failure to notify personnel of a critical process event can be very costly. And in some extreme cases, human health and safety can be at risk. So ensuring notification reliability requires careful forethought, and as potential failure scenarios must be predicted and intelligently mitigated through contingency planning. So yours is no easy task, and the stakes are high. So be prepared to give this the attention it's due. It's going to take some time to get it right, and we've provided some very nice tools to help you on your quest that I'll go over today. First, anticipating failures. We're going to focus our attention today on notification reliability, but we must be cognizant that there are many cogs in the machine. Many things could prevent notification from ever being dispatched, from being received, from being acted upon, or from that action making its way as far back as the SCADA. So let's consider some examples. Hardware, you got to make sure that your PLC is up and running and connected to the network. Your software could crash. Your SCADA system could go down when Win911 can't communicate with your SCADA if it's not running. Humans themselves, the operators, are they available? Are their devices available? Have they crashed? Or have they gone down or been lost? And who are you going to notify in the case that somebody is not available? So let's accept as an axiom that SCADA can be made reliable. So SCADA's domain, GE, Rockwell, and the Wonderwares of the world, and they have many resources available to you on making their systems reliable upstream of Win911. So if SCADA can be made reliable, then Win911 notification can be made highly reliable. So today we'll go over some supporting evidence of this corollary in the form of some useful tips. So tip number one, use a fallback notifier. If you set up Win911, we recommend always setting up a second notifier. Phone lines fail, internet connections fail, remote servers fail. So remove potential for any single point of failure and plan for contingencies. Many thought that phone lines would never fail until Superstorm Sandy hit, and when then all the cell towers came down. And what we recommend doing is, for example, you can call out to your operators on a phone line, and that works most of the time. But when it doesn't, what's going to happen? No one's going to get notified. So let's say you throw in some cellular modems, an SMS modem. So in the event that the phone line or the phone calls don't go out, you can go ahead and send some text messages, or perhaps you use an email server and you send out emails in addition to those phone calls. So pro tip number two, if you do use SMS gateways, go ahead and use multiple SMS gateways. I don't think many people know that our SMS notifier supports multiple modems. So it's a very powerful feature when considering improving notification reliability. These modems will work in a round-robin fashion. If one fails, it'll move on to the next modem and continue moving through these modems until the message goes out. So you're not limited to just one modem for sending your text messages out. Tip number three, build contingencies into your tactics. So you can use delay before on your basic tactics to give some time for operators to address the situation. So perhaps an alarm goes off. You don't want to send a notification out right away. You can wait 3 minutes for an operator in the plant to react. After 3 minutes goes by, we can go ahead and start notifying people. We can use retries on the call out list to mitigate some failures. So if we try to email Adam and the email server is unavailable, we can go ahead and retry that. So use retries to to send out make multiple attempts on notification. Delay after allows your operators to have some time to address the situation. If you send an email to someone or a notification out to someone, you likely want to give them some time to respond. If you don't use any delays between notifications, you'll be sending out a flood of alarm messages and no one, while not giving the first person any time to address the situation and take care of it. You can use multiple connections for the same contact. For example, if you're going to email Bob, you can send him an email, but you can also send him a text message. You could also send him a phone call or use our mobile 911 app. And if all else fails, you can escalate to management, and you can repeat this list as you see fit.
So I got a quick question for you. This is a basic tactic, is that correct? So is this available in all Win911?
Yeah, this is a basic tactic. This is available in every edition of Win911 we sell today. And what we'll go over next are some advanced features that are only available in the advanced product. So that brings us to pro tip number 4.
So this is only available in advanced.
This here, yes, this would only be available in advanced, what we're going to go over right now. So pro tip number 4, advanced strategies allow for notification if an alarm event or alarm condition persists beyond acknowledgement. So we get with version 7, we received a lot of requests that if an alarm becomes acknowledged, and it's not, it doesn't transition to inactive, that they still would like to notify operators about that. You can do that with advanced strategies. So, for example, you can set up a timer that says after 20 minutes, if an alarm is still not terminal, which means it's not inactive and then go ahead and start a tactic and re-notify some operators that, hey, this alarm is still active. It's been acknowledged, but it's still active and it's still a problem. Advanced strategies can also help control fallback notifications. So using the same or similar trigger upon a timer, you can say if you started initial tactic or call out list, as they start notifying operators after 25 minutes, maybe you want to start a different and the alarm hasn't been acknowledged. You want to start another tactic. Maybe the first tactic was all email and the second one is all SMS. And you can assume that if an alarm hasn't been acknowledged in 25 minutes, that maybe your notification attempts are failing. So 25 minutes later, start another tactic that goes out and uses a different notifier type. We can also use advanced tactics. This is only available with the advanced license. Advanced tactics allow us to do role-based notifications that will compensate for changes within an organization. So instead of coming into your escalation and moving people around in the list, you can simply, as you add or remove new users to the system, make sure they wear the appropriate role, and they'll automatically be inserted into your escalation. So here you can see we've got 2 roles, an L1 tech and L2 tech. So if I add a new user, assign the appropriate role to them, they're automatically inserted into the Pro tip number 5, backup server. After all your careful planning, the software still rests on a foundation of your physical server, which is itself a single point of failure. So a second copy of Win911 on a second physical server improves reliability further. So which brings us to what we're here to talk about, hot backup. So there's a couple ways to do this. Well, you could have hot backup versus double Win911. Some customers will run 2 instances of Win911 looking at the same system. Some pros to that would be increased reliability. You know, you've got 2 Win911s going. They're both getting alarms and sending alarms out at the same time. And so you know there's at least 2 systems going. Problem here is the increased planning and maintenance. You're paying for 2 licenses instead of 1. And probably the worst one, duplicate notification. All your operators will get 2 alarm messages for every alarm that is sent out. So Hot Backup is just a reduced cost license for an independent Win91 instance, and it along with some tools to make it easy to switch between active and standby modes to prevent duplicate notifications. So how would you do that? Standby mode is a special mode of operation for the Win91 dispatcher. The dispatcher is the piece that controls escalation or notification to operators or contacts. So if you put yourself in standby mode, you can still receive alarms from your SCADA system, but you're not sending any notifications out. So what you would do is the Hot Backup instance should ordinarily be kept in standby mode to prevent those duplicate notifications. So you have one primary in active mode, and you have your secondary in standby mode, and only one of them is sending out notifications at a time. Whenever you have a failure, though, you can have or a failure of the server hosting the first Win91. Win91 can be restored into active mode. And the way you would do that is with some executables that we include with Win91 that you can find in this folder location we've got at the bottom of the slide. There's an activate executable, a standby executable, and another executable that you can use to query which state the dispatcher is in.
Now, is that folder always going to be available in the C drive, or it can be found somewhere else?
No, it's always, when you install Win91, it will always be there. Now, you can take that folder and you can run it from anywhere on the computer, but that's where we initially install it. Yeah.
Excellent, thanks.
So upon a failure, what you would want to do is you would say, if the primary server failed, you want to activate the secondary server. So you run this activate executable. It's configured to activate the secondary system. And now that system, which also was receiving alarms, so they were in sync as far as alarms go, now takes over notification, and it starts sending out notifications to your operators. So a typical, excuse me, typical failover scenario. Win91's typically implemented in a redundant SCADA environment. So when the SCADA system fails over, you can have a simple script that activates, that runs activate executable and fails over with your SCADA system. So as your primary SCADA system fails over to your secondary SCADA system, you can have Win91 follow that and be in sync with your SCADA system. If Win91 is distributed from your SCADA server, it may be necessary to place the primary instance in standby mode. This too can be scripted. So if you switch from primary to secondary, you're going to put your secondary server into active mode, and you're going to put your primary server into standby mode, so that if it does recover, you're not sending, again, duplicate notifications. And this can be done various different ways with VBA. If you're doing scripting within your SCADA, it's usually VBA. Wonderware supports VBA Net, or you can do VBS, which is just Visual Basic Scripting.
So I got a question. The scripting is got to be done by the system integrator, is that correct?
That's correct, yes. The scripting itself would be done by the system integrator within the SCADA.
And what are some ways that the system integrators have done to do the hot backup from primary to secondary?
Well, like I was saying, typically what our customers like to do is have Win91 follow the failover of the SCADA system. So if the SCADA system fails over, you can run a script within the SCADA that runs this executable that keeps the Win91 in sync with what the SCADA system's doing.
So let's say that the primary goes down and there is a hot backup. What's a good way to let somebody know that the primary has gone down and Win91 has gone down with it? I have seen a lot of system integrators put something in the HMI, or maybe using a phone call to alert a customer, an end user.
Well, there are a couple ways you can do that. You could, as you fail over, usually a failover is seamless, and the operator wouldn't know the difference, but you can put indicators within an HMI screen to indicate which Win91 system's active. You can pop up a screen. You can set up an alarm that gets created when a failover occurs, and then that alarm can go through Win91 and notify operators through any one of the notification methods. And then they would know that the failover occurred and that some action should be taken on the SCADA system.
All right.
To restore it back to normal functionality.
Excellent, thanks.
So that's one way to do it. So there are other ways to script your failover. So Win91 consists of many processes. Each module is its own independent process, and each one of these processes are hosting an HTTP endpoint, which you can query those endpoints to check to see if they're running. And we have a sample script of that on our website, so you're free to check that out. So essentially what you're doing is checking every process and seeing if it's responding. If it is not responding, then you can fail over to a second Win911 system so that it can take over notification for you. And the sample script that we have isn't available in VBS form. It can be easily moved over into a VBA script if you want to run it within your SCADA system. Recently, we also introduced some heartbeat functionality that was not in the original releases of the standard interactive and advanced Win911 system. So a heartbeat it's like it sounds. It gives a vital sign of Win911's connectivity into your SCADA system. So we'll continuously write a value to a particular tag from 0 to 9 over a timer indefinitely. As long as that heartbeat is running, then you know Win911 is connected to your system and receiving alarms. We've rolled this out so far for iFix, InTouch, and System Platform. There are some sample scripts on our knowledge base for InTouch and System Platform for monitoring these heartbeats. It's not linked to a failover, but you can easily adjust those scripts to be used as a failover. And we'll have an iFix version of those documents out soon as well. So you'll be able to check that. In the future, we plan on releasing some heartbeats for all the data sources we support. Right now, we're looking at adding it to our OPCDA connection. So configuration maintenance. The hot backup instance, the configuration of it will not be exactly the same as the primary system. For example, you wouldn't want your gateways to be the same. Your email server settings could be different. You can't have both Win911 systems checking the same inbox, for example. If you're using SMS modems, the COM ports may be different, or the IP addresses of the modems they're using to send out will be different. Your VoIP settings could be different. So your configurations won't be exactly the same.
So let me ask you something. If a customer has a hot backup, do they also have to have a second set of hardware? Let's say that they have a cell modem. Do they need a second set of?
I would recommend having a second set of hardware for your secondary system so that you can be truly separate from the primary system. So I don't think it'd make a lot of sense to use the same hardware for both systems, because if there's an issue with one, you want to make sure that the secondary system has its own hardware. In fact, you could have your primary system use one notification method, and your secondary system doesn't have to match exactly. It could be using a totally different notification type. So maybe your primary uses voice calls and it calls your operators. You can have your secondary system or your hot backup send text messages or send emails or use the mobile app. So the configurations of these two systems don't have to be the same. But the configuration is kept in SQL. So if there are some things that you want to duplicate, so maybe you do just want to keep it the same, you can import the configuration or export the configuration and then import it into the second system. And you will have to make changes to the gateway settings because they won't work out of the box if you just restore those settings onto the system. We do have article online that walks you through the process of backing up and restoring your configuration through SQL. So you're more than welcome to check that out. You can find it in this configuring redundancy article that we have hosted. If you go to our knowledge base, you can go to the Win911 Standard Interactive Advanced section under Miscellaneous, and you'll find this particular article.
To be able to find that article, you can go to win911.com, and then from there, all the way at the end, there is a tab, right? And from there, you can do a knowledge base.
That's right.
And then in the search bar, they can just do a search for hot backup or redundancy, and it should come up.
Yeah, you could just search for it, or you could browse to that folder, yeah, and it should come up.
Excellent.
So in summary, Win911 supports numerous techniques for improving reliability of notifications. We recommend using that redundant notification channel. Again, if you are setting up Win911, it's always a great idea to have 2 notification types in case one does fail. Use multiple SMS gateways if you are using SMS. If one modem has an issue, the other one can take over and start sending messages out through that gateway. Build contingencies into your tactics. Make sure that if you are using multiple notification channels, you're building those into your tactics. And again, you can have the same person receive notifications through various notification types. And consider using Win911 Advanced to get access to those advanced features and advanced strategies and tactics. So Hotbackup provides a simple option to eliminate the host server's single point of failure without introducing duplicate notification. That's the main point of our active and standby system.
So before we go to the Q&A, I wanted to see if I can take a couple seconds to ask a couple polls here. So let's go ahead and launch some of these questions. Which SCADA do you use currently? We'll take a couple seconds here for people to log their SCADAs, and this might be different between each one of you guys. As we have end users and system integrators, they might have multiple SCADAs right here. We'll give it about 30 more seconds for these questions. There's 3 other questions left. We're about 65% of the 78 participants have voted, so we appreciate that. And we are going to head and close this. We're about 70%, and we'll close this now. All right, we'll do the same thing here for what notifiers do you typically use. We'll launch that one, and hopefully, we're going to see what do you guys normally like as notifiers. And from there, maybe through this webinar, you will be able to think about and rethink, how you can use multiple notifiers to create a better redundancy within your Win911 system. All right, we'll give it 30 seconds. We got 72% has voted out of the 78 people. And it seems so far that email and text email and voice are the most used, and mobile app, it's about 23%. So we'll close that right here. Thank you very much. We're almost done, guys. Where should Win911 focus development efforts? We have installation, easy of use configuration, redundancy, and notifiers. Sorry about that, the grammar error right there. So far, about 45% has voted in, 50%, 74% is telling us easy of use and configuration, followed by 40% of redundancy and 33% of installation. We'll give it 15 more seconds. We got 72% of the people have voted in. Thank you very much. And we got one last question for you all. Which data source would you, what is it right here?
Like us to add support for.
Yes. So what SCADA would you want to see Win911 added as a direct connect or add more support for it? Right now we have about 28%, 32%. Clear SCADA, it's one of the ones that it's being asked the most, followed by WinCC and Cytec. All right, 49% of the people have voted in. We'll give it about 10 more seconds. And not everybody might need this use of different type of SCADAs, but we appreciate your input. All right. Thank you very much. That concludes the polling for us. And we'll go ahead to the feature developments. What's coming up next? And soon after that, we'll do the Q&A.
So for this year, what we're focusing on right now is our new mobile app, which we're about to launch a beta for. I don't have any slides for that, unfortunately, but you're free to check out our website, go to the Mobile 911 page, and you can sign up for the beta program there, and you can read about some of the new features that will be included. I would say the primary enhancement over with the new mobile app is security. We're using Microsoft Azure to host everything, and Microsoft Active Directory accounts to control logins to the app and your server. And so please check that out. We'll launch that beta in the next coming month. We'll also plan on, for this year, tackling redundancy, true redundancy instead of just a hot backup solution. So if you have feedback on that, things that you would like us to consider as we implement those features, please check out the send feedback page on our website, and let us know what you'd like to see from that.
And before we go to the Q&A, to be able to get to the send feedback, go to win911.com, and it's actually right on the top of the website. You can send feedback for us. Something that would be important to mention, maybe some of the SIs and customers are not aware of this, but this week we had a couple releases. You want to quickly chat about that?
Sure. We just released 3.19.5 earlier this week. With this version, we've confirmed support with Windows 10 1809. So if you guys are starting to use that OS, the installer does now support it. We're also confirmed compatibility with System Platform 2017 Update 3, InTouch Update, or InTouch 2017 Update 3, and we've also added support for InTouch Edge HMI 8.1 Service Pack 3. That's the latest service pack they've released for that version. We've done some other things for Factory Talk. We've added in some. We've added in a group filter for our subscriptions, so now you can filter alarms on groups. And we've also introduced these two new utilities, role utility and schedule utility, that allow you to change roles and schedules from command line. So you can use those utilities with scripting to control who's on schedule and and which roles belong to a particular connection straight from the HMI. So you can use those tools to control who's getting notifications without ever needing to leave the HMI. There are 2 documents in our knowledge base that talk about those, so feel free to check those out. and let us know what you think about those. There will be some videos that will be released later on that talk about those features and how you can implement them.
So a lot of new things. Thank you very much. All right, let's go ahead on the Q&A, and we'll open the lines up for you all, and you can also send us the questions